we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's the pregame, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. And on this week's show, we're talking about the latest goings on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe based off the Loki show, and also as well, Magic Man Sean Grice stops by to talk Five Nights at Freddy's and the unfortunate, untimely death of Matthew Perry. So go ahead and check out his thoughts on this week's Pop Culture Cosmos. Plus, also as well, you want to make sure we go ahead and cover the world of fantasy football like no one else. Inside Sports Fantasy Football coming right back at you here. Go ahead and check out our latest thoughts coming up this week on NFL Week 9. Right there for you at Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Our good friends Joe Soro at Simblades with a Y.com, Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet. Don't forget what they're all about at Lakerholics.com. And of course, everything that we do for you right here at the Lakers Fast Break, including our good friends Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV, John McCalian. And make sure you subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air. Plus, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. We will be on tonight, live during the game. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. So make sure you catch that. And of course, we come right back at you here, wherever you get your podcast for the awesome post game that we do. The best post game for the Lakers. There's nowhere else to go than right here at the Lakers Fast Break. But looking forward to the Lakers getting back, rebounding from a terrible overtime loss last night to the Sacramento Kings. Looking for a rebound tonight and a back-to-back. Heading home to the crypt against the Orlando Magic. And here today to talk about some good things with the Orlando Magic and where they stand early in the season. Good man indeed. He returns to us from Fansided and all that they do when it concerns the Orlando Magic Daily. It is Alfred Ezman. Alfred, great to have you here. Looking forward to a good game tonight between the Lakers and the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, Gerald, thank you for having me back. Very excited. Hot start for the Orlando Magic. They get their first, in my eyes, true test of the season, Game 3, going to the crypt. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be a very intriguing game.
I think so as well, because, when you have two games, your first two games against two teams that are, let's just say it nicely, struggling out of the gate, to say the least, when it comes to the Orlando Magic, it's really hard to gauge where your team is at. So the Lakers, which are still expected to be a very good team this season, LeBron James, at this point, the injury update is that Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, and Cam Reddish are all probable for tonight. Jared Vanderbilt is still out with his bursitis. So it looks like, much to our delight, unexpectedly, because we pretty much thought he was going to be out after playing extended minutes and playing on a back-to-back, that LeBron James would be out. So it looks like you're getting LeBron James tonight against the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, and, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, obviously this is the first team, that Orlando faces this year where it is a test. Obviously, Houston and Portland kind of in similar spots with Orlando, but they don't really provide the challenge, I think, right now that an LA would, obviously. I think having LeBron in there is very good for this Magic team. LeBron's going to have to face up against Franz Wagner and Paulo Borero on the wing often. So I think it gets those two very in tune with one another. And I mean, I heard you guys talking last night because of the sitting out policy and whatnot. There was a chance LeBron would get the, 29-minute.
I would say that's going to be more likely tonight because, that 28-minute, 29-minute, the cutoff point that we saw last for one game. The previous two games, he's gone well over that limit. At this point, you've got to be a little bit smarter about his minutes, especially on a back-to-back. So if you are going to play him tonight, I expect to not see LeBron as much tonight as you did, let's say, the past two previous games.
Yeah, I agree. And, especially, with this Orlando Magic team, Gerald, granted, you like Houston, Portland, take what you will against those teams, but Orlando came out and held both those teams to under 100 points in the first two games. So LeBron will get a taste of the defense that Orlando provides, and it could, potentially keep his limits a little more limited. But who knows? It's LeBron James. So, we shall see. We'll see what Darvin Ham and the rest of the coaching staff cooks up with that.
So one thing I want to ask you though is when it comes to how you're doing so far early in the season when it comes to your Orlando Magic, Paulo Banchero, obviously the rookie of the year, the guy that's coming in is probably the leader for this team, kind of struggling a little bit out of the gate, averaging, I believe, 14 points, if I'm not mistaken. So tell me your thoughts on some of the early season, I don't know, maybe some just early season observations you have so far of Paulo's game.
Yeah, I came here for the preseason show you had with me with the Magic, and I said Paulo Banchero, the ceiling is pretty much at all-star right now this season for him, and certainly right now, kind of, I wouldn't say horrible, but I would say a slightly sluggish start for him, 12 points, and then 16 in the next game against Portland on kind of okay shooting. I think part of it is definitely teams are catching on to what Paulo can do. Paulo is a scorer at all levels when he wants to and when his shot hits. And I think teams are starting to kind of keen in on him a lot of the times. And that's where you've seen guys like Franz Wagner, averaging 21 through these first two games, is because the Magic are swinging it to the other wing and Franz is there and he's the one providing the scoring production. I do think Paulo has looked more solid on defense. I think he's doing a better job kind of keeping up with his men and stuff. He does have help. I don't know if you've seen Jonathan Isaac this year, but Jonathan Isaac has been great in the interior blocking shots. He had two really big blocks on Jalen Green in their opening night game. I think, again, slightly a slow start for Paulo. Who knows? Tonight may be the time where he picks it up. I'm not overly concerned. I still think Paulo is doing solid when it comes to the rebounds and assists. I think he's getting right around the 5 mark for both of those stats in each of these first two games. So I think I think it'll catch up, but that'll be certainly something to watch tonight to see how Paulo can match up with who I think will be LeBron for a good portion of this game.
One thing I do want to ask you about the forward tandem, you talked about Paulo Banchero, but it's Franz Wagner who seemingly goes under the radar continuously, but might be, and I'm going to say might, because I don't want to get the Paulo fans mad at me, but he's playing the best so far this season. Could he eventually end up being overall your best Orlando Magic's player?
That's certainly circulating on Twitter. From what I see on my feed, it's a lot of, who's our best player, and it's the polls, and it's Franz Wagner by a good portion. And I think what I think Franz has done is really, it's been criminally under the radar in the league. I think, and it's just because of, the market he plays in, but he has always been a very good defender on the ball. He's been good at stopping attacks to the rim or slowing them down, at least, to get our centers and power forwards ready down low to help defense. He's always been a great scorer. He's right around 35% with the Magic from 3-point range in his career. This year he's been doing the same. I don't think he's our best 3-point shooter, but I think he's one of them. He's great at getting to the rim. He's very good on his feet for a guy who's 6'10", and he moves like a deer for a guy who's 6'10". I mean, he is very quick, very agile. He fits the role of, this modern day NBA, tall but athletic and can do it all wing that can score at any level, play defense. And I am on board with the idea that he is our best player. I tend to agree with it, to be quite honest.
I have a feeling you would say that because, again, right now, just the all-around play he provides you, it's just something that I think is very unique, something especially at his size. And I just think that really for you guys, the future should be more invested in Franz than Paulo, because Paulo, he can give you some things, but, as we saw, he does have his limitations. I think there's less to look at as far as sheer flaws in Franz's game right now.
Yes, he does look very more polished, I'll say, at this point in time. And, I think that the key overall, I think you can definitely say Franz, is a future point. He is. I think the big key, though, is having those two. If Paulo gets more polished, tonight and continuously throughout this year, tonight's the start of it, but even throughout this year, if he gets more polished, then all of a sudden you have two guys where the guard taking it up the floor can swing it to either wing. And you have two guys who can score flat out. And it creates, a kind of offense Orlando hasn't seen in a long time. So that's something to look at this season tonight, and pretty much every night this team steps on the floor.
Once again, it's our Alfred Ezman. Please go ahead and support him today if you're an Orlando Magic's fan or you want to know more about the Orlando Magic. Go to orlandomagicdaily.com, part of the Fansided experience, and go ahead and check out his latest articles there. He does a ton of work everywhere else in the sports world, so go ahead and follow him everywhere you can for all the great stuff that he's going ahead and doing out there. Great shout out to Gary A, Eric R, Daniel, Thomas, Dante, everybody that's part of the best Lakers chat room that's out there at the Lakers Fast Break. But one of the things I wanted to cover was the guard play, because the guards are so important for you guys in order for you guys to go ahead and get to that next step, that next level of play in the NBA, because your guard play has been so, how should I say this nicely, inconsistent, to say the least. And we talked about this in our preview some months back when we talked about that has to shore itself up. You have to get more definitive play as far as guards stepping up to their starting roles, or be more inclined to reserve roles. So far, we've seen Cole Anthony come off the bench, become a spark plug for you guys. How's it going for the starting lineup? Because you're starting two guards, Suggs and Fultz, both top, or I should say, both lottery picks that have not had the best of careers so far, but both still have potential. I still like Suggs if he could ever find a jump shot. What's your thoughts on the backcourt so far and how they're doing?
Yeah, it's once again, we did talk about this, and this was probably the majority of that show was the guard room for us. And I think, Cole Anthony, right now he has the 6-man label for this team, and he got extended right before the season started, 3 years, $39 million. That's, everyone viewed that as 6-man pay, and then he goes out and on the first night of the year against the Rockets, drops 20 off the bench, and everyone's like, "What did we underpay this guy?" I mean, and he is like an offensive spark plug, and it's weird because he's a point guard, and again, the way Jamal Mosley has it set up, Markel's the guy taking the ball up the floor offensively, which is okay. It certainly is okay, but he's been a spark off the bench, and with Jalen Suggs, this year, I don't think he's scored over 10 in each of the first 2 games yet, but the defense has been there. He has definitely been very good, very sound on defense. Tonight, that's one thing I'm going to watch, especially with how Austin Reeves and D'Lo has been playing. Can Jalen Suggs control the backcourt battle rather tonight? And even throughout the year, offense will be nice out of Jalen, but everyone I think knows at this point, out of the 5 starting lineup guys, he is probably bottom when it comes to offensive production, and that's okay. You get the defensive side out of him. When it comes to Markel, he's looking for an extension this year. I think he should get it. He is not a stat getter necessarily, but I think when you put the best of Cole and Jalen together, you kind of get Markel in a way, not necessarily with a 3-point shot, but his drive to the rim is very solid. He is not afraid. I saw multiple times, in particular the Houston game to open the year. He drove to the rim and was not scared to go up on on Şengün and some of the other tall players the Rockets had. And I was really impressed. He can get the ball again. He gets the ball out to the wings to Paulo and Franz very well. Finds Wendell down low too. So it's, once again, it's still, I think, a question. It's up in the air what direction they go with the guards. It seems like what they have right now is working, but with the cap space situation the Magic have coming up, they should have a lot of cap depending on who they re-sign and who don't. That'll be a story going forward. But I think each of them provides their own little facet to the game when they're on the floor. And I think Jamal Mosley is starting to kind of figure out where each of them fits in the lineup.
Well, it's a kind of it's not a perfect fit, because obviously, you still have issues in Orlando when you look at it on paper. Outside shooting is a concern. The fact that they don't have traditional shooting guards, especially coming right there starting off the game, because you start the game with essentially 2-point guards. And then you also have, again, some shooting issues from the outside, because none of the 5 players you're seeing are traditionally, I guess, good 3-point shooters. Then again, the Lakers have not started this season well from behind the arc either, so that's notwithstanding. But your team relies heavily on defense, and you've said it best. You talked about, with all the players in your starting lineup, one thing they can do is guard, and they can guard well. So we never talk about Wendell Carter Jr. He just seems to fly under the radar. He's respected. He just does what he needs to do and gives you what you need, and then there you go. But again, this team that you have with Jonathan Isaac backing you up as well is basically sound on defense, and that's what their meal ticket right now is. And until they find shooting, they're going to have to be so reliant on the defensive end.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, you look at it right now, the Magic are shooting, again, they were 25th in the league last year in team 3-point shooting, not good at all. Heading in through these first two games, they're 29% from beyond the arc. Anytime you're below 30%, that's a red flag right off the rip.
Well, then the Lakers will be sharing that red flag with you.
I know. So hopefully one of us can get it going tonight from three and we can get some sparks from it. But yeah, I mean, that's, the defense has been key. It's really been that way since I've started following the Magic, even with Steve Clifford when he used to coach there. It's been all about defense. And I think the motto of this team has been, we're not going to necessarily impress you with how we play on offense with these flashy plays and, deep 3-point shots and all this stuff. But we're going to make sure we muscle you on defense and make you earn a win. And I think that's where they found their bread and butter, at least through two games. And again, tonight, I think whenever you go on the road, you have to play defense in the NBA. You have to play good defense. So as they head, to the crypt tonight, they got to realize, look, we cannot let these guys get going and get a flow on offense. If we can do that, we'll find our shots eventually and we'll have a shot to win this thing.
Once again, I'm talking to Alfred Ezman. Please go ahead and support his great work today at the Orlando Magic Daily. Right there as part of the Fansided experience. Go ahead and make sure you check out his latest articles to get more in depth in what's going on with the Orlando Magic. And when it comes to the Orlando Magic, you talked about Jamal Mosley as far as coaching. A lot of people are very high on him going forward as a coach for the future. Again, the pieces are not fully in place from what I see in Orlando, but with the way things are going, you could see a surprise. You talked about already that a play-in scenario could be in the cards for Orlando as early as this year.
Yeah, I think, honestly, the floor right now is, I guess, the 10th seed, the play-in seed, because it's like these guys, and, they talked about it in all their training camp interviews and whatnot, that they all said, look, this has been building for a little bit now, slowly but surely. We haven't cracked 40 wins, in quite a while. So what they're thinking is we can definitely not necessarily go out there and win the Larry O'Brien trophy, but we can go out there and not yet, but we can go out there. Not yet. We're getting there, but we can go out there, and get a play-in spot of some kind, maybe, crack into the top 8, just slightly a little. And it's all about, how they take the game on a night-to-night basis. They can't be looking at that right now. Obviously, 2 games in, I don't think any team can. But Jamal Mosley, certainly this has been his first big head coaching gig, and he is taking advantage of it, I'll say. He knows he has young talent all across the roster. He just kind of has to slowly work them into the positions they need to be in. And he needs to, he was a developmental assistant in Dallas. So he needed to get used to actually head coaching a game and, figuring out what to do in in-game situations. And he's been doing better at it. I mean, again, the Portland win, 5-point win on the road. That's a gritty win. Jamal definitely down the stretch there where it was close needed to make sure he knew what he was doing in late game situations when Portland started to foul to try to slow the game down and all this stuff. And he's done well. And I think there's a good future ahead. And of course, there's always some tweaks we got to work on. But I think play-in is the goal for this team. And they've, again, based on how they do the next month or so, I think we'll get a real taste of if they're about that or not.
We'll see. But as you rise to the levels away from the lottery and more into that land of mediocrity, the key is not staying there too long, not being comfortable in that stretch, still continuing to build your team. And with so many young assets, and still the fact that you have a lot of your own assets as well going forward as far as draft picks are concerned, there's still plenty of time and plenty of availability to go ahead and build the team up so that in 2-3 seasons, you could be talking about Orlando as a future powerhouse in the NBA.
Yeah, you said it best. I mean, the mediocrity level where you're sitting there as a 7th and 8th seed every year, worst place to be in the NBA, because it feels
like Orlando was before.
Yeah. I mean, back in 2018, 2019, right before COVID, that's exactly where they were with Steve Clifford. And it's like you're on a raft in the ocean with no current going anywhere. It's,
Exactly.
it doesn't help you in any way. And I think we're starting to get back into that kind of range. But the beauty of it is, we didn't have all these old players that we had on those teams. We have young guys that are still improving and stuff like that. So I think there's still a few more years, where we really figure it out. But, they are back heading into the direction of, hey, we can possibly be, a contender very shortly down the road.
I'm hoping so as well for you guys, but also for the Lakers. I know that there's been some issues so far this season. Outside shooting is a primary concern. The defense last night obviously didn't help, but then you're facing off against the NBA's probably one or two best scoring teams last night. So that goes without saying, but still the defense has to shore itself up. Tonight will be a test, especially coming on a back-to-back. How much are you expecting from LeBron? Since it looks like he is probable, how much are you expecting from LeBron James this evening?
Well, I'll say this. Every time I watch LeBron play Orlando, he usually has 30 points. That's what it's been in the past. And, I don't really expect anything different. Last night, he had a triple-double, I believe, right? I'm pretty sure he had one, was close to it around there.
Austin Reeves has also had probably his biggest game ever in the NBA against the Orlando Magic.
He
About
did.
35 points from what I remember. So
yes, he did. And I think, I expect the same. I don't about Austin, we'll see, but LeBron, I'm going to expect the same out of LeBron. I think, and Orlando needs to realize, he's going to score 25. He's going to get close to 10 rebounds. He's going to get.
Well, the thing is, though, if that's the case, he's playing up more than 29 minutes. If that's the case, and
Right.
that is of great concern to me. Again, this is something that both myself and my fellow panelist Joe Soro indicated. You have to try and limit his minutes, and as we've seen, that plan has gone awry in the first three games, and
Mhm.
that to me is something that it's not wise, because this is the guy who's going to be turning 39 years of age here in 2 months
Right.
from now. So I'm not sure exactly that's the wisest thing to do, especially because you have a long season ahead. And if you're playing him on a back-to-back, you need to limit him to as close to or under 30 minutes as possible for tonight, which would mean probably about 20 points, to be honest with you. It's the other guys that have to pick something up. And I think that's the case for Austin Reeves, who's been much maligned and now recently, coming off of his great run for FIBA. But we've talked about his defense being something that has also been very much of an eyesore. Okay, that's fine. His defense is not where it needs to be, but his offense, that's something that has alluded to. And that's something when you're not playing well on both sides of the ball, that is of great concern, especially if you're a starting guard.
Yeah, I agree. And, I watched y'all's post game last night, and I do think D'Lo and Reeves both, it's going to have to be a step up, especially at stopping the point of this attack for Orlando from getting that ball to the other three playmakers that run down low on the bottom side of the offensive zone. And I think, I think Reeves, if Reeves has a good game like he did, like you said, 35 points against Orlando again, I could see the Lakers coming out on top. I think that is the key. Is if the Lakers can get this kind of production out of their other players, in particular their guards, I think I could see them easily winning this game. And I think for Orlando, I think the key is, hit the 3-point shot. As the 3-point shot's key for LA, but I think for Orlando too, it's, let's hit the 3-point shot and shut these guards down at the point of attack so they can't really get the ball to AD, LeBron, and all these other guys. And it keeps them offense from being circulated. So I think really both ways. I think it's the same kind of song. Whereas, stop the guards, stop the offense from circulating, and make open shots, open threes, and you come out on top in this thing.
Once again, it's Alfred Ezman. Please go ahead and check out the great work that he's doing each and every time out at the Orlando Magic Daily. So before we head it out, my friend, final thoughts on the game. And then, of course, where can they find all your great work, not just for the NBA, but so much more?
Yeah, I think final thoughts on the game. Again, I think, if the Lakers, like I just said, if they get big games out of their guards and other people besides LeBron, when he more than likely, I agree with you, think he will have limited minutes, I think the Lakers can come out on top. But for Orlando, it's the same old thing that they've been doing the first two games. sit down on defense, stop their offense. You have to play good defense to win NBA games on the road. And if they do that, they'll come out on top. I think it's a very intriguing matchup with one team looking to kind of rekindle a spark to get their season going in LA. And I think it's another Orlando looking to kind of define how the season's going to go in game 3 for at least the first few months of it. So it's a very intriguing matchup. I cannot wait. You can check it out. You can check out the results and what I have to say on it at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. I also write for Buffalo Down, a Buffalo Bills blog on the Fansided Network, as well as Rays Colored Glasses. Baseball's winding down, but I'm handing out scores for all the Rays players, how they did in the 2023 season. You can check that out as well. Again, that's Rays Colored Glasses on the Fansided Network.
There you go. Absolutely. A lot of work indeed that he does. He writes for all the sports. And where can they follow you on Twitter so they can keep up with everything that you're doing?
Yeah, simple as pie. Alfred Ezman, ALFREDEZMAN. Just one word all the way through.
There you go. Absolutely. Follow him indeed so you can catch the latest stories that he's writing today, because he's doing a ton of stuff out there in the world of sports, including the Orlando Magic at OrlandoMagicDaily.com as part of the Fansided experience. Alfred, great to have you here. I know we're going to be playing you guys later in the week, which is something, again, an NBA quirk. So we're going to be done with each other, by the end of the week, which is kind of funny. But I do want to invite you back at any point in time in the season. You want to stop by just to talk about general thoughts on the Magic, general thoughts on the NBA, the Eastern Conference, what have you. So I would love to have you come back on whenever it's convenient for you. Just give me the heads up, because we love to have you. As you know, we go 7 days a week, so we always need content. So definitely great to have you back on the show whenever you can.
Yeah, just shoot me a text, Gerald. I'll be happy to be back on here.
Awesome. As Eric says, thank you for time out, Alfred, and valuable input. I couldn't agree more. Once again, it's Alfred Ezman. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Once again, it is Gerald Glassford. Truly appreciate you joining us. Best Lakers chat room that's out there is the Lakers Fast Break. Make sure you join us tonight on Playback. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. It's free. You just join up with us. You watch the game on your feed, and you can hear all the uncensored Joe Soro and Magic Man Sean Grice you can handle right there at playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. It's a very interesting listen, and I'll just leave it at that. But then again, after the game, after you watch us on Playback, don't forget we have the best post game in town, of course, covering the Lakers like no one else right here at the Lakers Fast Break. So for Alfred Ezman, truly appreciate the time he's given us tonight. He will hopefully come back on as soon as he can. But for everyone out there, truly appreciate it. Go ahead and check us out on Playback and, of course, the post game. Looking forward to a great game against the Orlando Magic right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.